performance science. And so today we speak about problem solving. And I would like to start with a quote from the professor of my professor, which is Paul Watzlawick. And it's also the definition of a problem, because the first thing in a strategic problem-solving model is to define what is a problem. So just think, really, in your mind, what actually is a problem? And one of the most beautiful definitions is that problem is everything that has a solution. If I know I'm in the middle of the monitor, but my voice will guide you through the presentation, so you will be fine. Thank you for thank you for that. So problem is everything that has a solution, and this is very, very curious, right? I think maybe most of us never thought about that. So everything that has a solution, we can call it problem. And then a question is spontaneous to now. What are those things that have no solution? How do we call them? So everything that has no solution, it's called fact. It's just a fact. Those things that we don't have control over are just facts. And those things we have control over are called problems, and they have solutions. So today I will introduce you with the strategic problem-solving model. There are 7 steps that have been studied from the school I belong to, which is the Brief Strategic Therapy School, where I've studied my master's. And I'm an engineer as a background. So the connection with We Connect and this tech summit is the fact that in tech distribution, where I work, we connect people with problems with people with solutions every day. I am responsible of 3PL, which are our third-party logistics support. So we do this daily. But the step number 1 we need to do in every strategic problem-solving model is to define the problem. And this may seem obvious, right? So how many times we step into a meeting, we start a workshop where we know what we're doing? It's obvious, right? We know what we are meeting for. But in problem solving, also the obvious needs to be demonstrated. And this is the first step, defining the problem. The problem, usually, to use a metaphor connected to Tech Summit, where summit means top, right? It's a synonym of saying top. If we imagine a mountain, our goal is to reach the top. But what is between us and the goal is actually the mountain, so it's the problem. And the problem needs to be defined with 5 basic questions. The first one is who? Who is having the problem? Is just me? Is just the team? Or there are other people involved? What? What is the problem? Defining the problem, how it works. Where is happening, just here, or also in other departments, in other locations, right? When there's a specific timing, or the times are multiple. And how? So how is the most important question, and it's the difference with this approach compared to the others, because we want to explore not why happens the problem, because the why connects it to the past, the how stays in the present, how the problem works in here and now. The reason why we don't use why is because from a psychological point of view, the why is subject to interpretations, to things that are not pure. But in strategic problem solving, what is true is what is functional. If something it is functional to help us to achieve our goal, it is true and we use it. So the first piece is the definition of a problem, and the second one is the goal. We have these 2 steps separated, but actually they are the component of one single thing, because if we said before that the problem is the mountain and the peak is the goal, the summit is the goal, then you clearly understand that defining the problem and defining the goal, if we have really well defining the problem, are the same thing, but we can use two separate moments for that. So this is really the step number one. And you may tell me, okay, it takes time. It takes time. But from a Chinese adage, we use a strategy here, which is starting later to arrive earlier. Otherwise, we start earlier, but we arrive much later. Because imagine you don't define where you want to go. Imagine you want to go to Berlin. If you don't define you want to go to Berlin, you just take your car and you start going around, but you don't know you have to go to Berlin. So having the problem and the goal defined is really the first step to start our problem solving. The third one is also this one connected. Number 3 and number 4 are a little bit connected because it's about asking ourselves, once we have defined the problem and the goal, do we have solved something similar in the past? So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just ask ourselves, did it happen also in the past that we solved something similar? And please do not get eluded here, because every solution needs to be anyway readapted, because the data of the problem may change a little bit. That's where human being falls into mistake, probably, because our experience tells us that the problems that we've solved in the past, we just copy-paste the solution. But where we can get better is to take that solution and actualize it in our present moment. So this can be very strategical if used in the right way, but it can also lead to mistake. So asking ourselves, if we have a solution that has worked in the past, let's actualize it and let's readapt to the present. The fourth one is really what makes this problem-solving approach so special, because introduce a new concept that is called tempted solution. So first of all, if we have a problem and we're trying to solve it, it means that we are probably using a solution that is not a full solution, but is tempted, because it's not leading to our wanted result. So the tempted solution, it's very, very deep. It's a very deep moment where we ask ourselves, what are we doing today to solve the problem? And the second question, once we know what we're doing today, is this solution solving the problem or not? And in this case, would be not, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So, because it's not solving the problem, the question is, if we keep on doing this, will the problem be solved or only get worse? Because the way we work is that if something has worked in the past, we believe it's going to work in the present, and if it's not working in the present, we try to do it better. We try to do it over and over, because it's worked in the past. It's obvious, right? But actually here the question is, what can we do different to solve the problem? And in this session, in this moment, the creativity will be stimulated. People in the team will find more creative solution, because with just this word differently, what can we do differently? We start thinking, okay, right, something that is not what we're doing now, which is actually maintaining the problem. What we're doing now, so the solution is the problem. That's the title of this session. What we're doing today is maintaining the problem. So maybe strategies that we use consciously or unconsciously. So from this moment, we realize we can do something different. And in the next 3 steps, we start with some very crazy logics. And I say crazy because we're not used to pay attention to something, that we do not only function through linear logics. We all want to we all have best intentions. We all want to get better, improve from every aspect of our life. Because when we speak about companies, we also speak about people. So speaking about people and companies is the same thing. And we all want to get better. But with the best intentions, sometimes we get the worst result. And you can see it from any aspect, right? Also, speaking about myself, I'm constantly on diet because I want to, improve my body. But I know I don't have to eat some things, but I eat them. So I have the best intentions, okay? But somehow there are some things. This proves that we not only function with linear logics, but also with paradoxical logics. And a strategic model not only is strategic because as a goal, otherwise wouldn't be strategic, but it's strategic also because combines the use of linear and non-linear techniques. So speaking about the use of this combination of techniques, we introduced the how worse technique, which it's working on a paradox. The question here is, imagine our goal. So we have defined a goal. You have it in your mind. Imagine our goal is not to reach the goal, but to fail the goal. So this is shocking, right? So if I ask somebody, many people tell me, but actually I don't want, why should I do it? It's a waste of time, right? I don't want to fail the goal. I want to reach the goal. Well, I know you wanted to reach the goal, but we wouldn't be here, right? You have the best intentions. So this is a technique that can be used in group and also on a singular person. And just a quick side note, these 7 steps are acting in a very, like a funnel. At each layer, I'm restricting the focus and making more powerful the resolution of a problem. But this doesn't mean that we need to use all of them. We can stop even at the problem definition and already have a eureka effect to find a solution that we haven't thought before. Because already from changing the thinking of a problem to the verbal expressing of a problem, we may fix it because we are changing the communication. So once we get to the step number 5, 6, and 7, we are already pretty much in a very complex problem, and this is also the steps to create a strategy, which is a series of steps to reach a goal. It's the same thing. So the question here is, what would you do, think, and say if you wish deliberately to fail your goal and not to reach your goal? This is actually a question that has embedded 6 questions. 3 with a positive attitude and 3 with a negative. So they act at the level of saying, thinking, and doing, but also do not saying, do not think, and do not do. What would you do to fail your goal? What would you do not do to fail your goal? Once you have the answers here, you have some items to work with, because what are these items if not those things that I have to do? If I put a minus before, the answers to a negative question becomes the answer to a positive question. So those items I should decide either not to do if they're positive, or to do it the opposite thing. So I know it's a bit complex here, but we are already in the steps where we are trying to solve complex problems. And for complex problems, we need powerful techniques. So you can, if you want, you can try also with yourself. If you are in a moment where you want to, you are a little bit uncomfortable and you want to fix some things on your work or also private life, you can wake up every morning and make a list. What would I do if I wish to make my life worse? You can think for a moment or do it later. What would I do if I wish to make my life worse? Maybe I have a bad relationship with my line manager, with my friends or partner, things like that. But also more actualized, what would I do if I wish to, do not solve that problem at work that is there since weeks maybe? What would I do to fail it, to do not succeed at that? and then put a minus before the answers that you give. So these are the things that you have to do. Now, the next technique is called the miracle question. It's also similar, so it's going to add items to our strategy. And the question is, imagine you just wake up this morning and by magic, the solution is there. What do you see in front of your eyes? What do you do differently? What do you think differently? What do you say differently than before? And then start acting as if the solution is already there. So the answers from these two techniques that, as I said before, they are always empowering the solution, but you don't have to get here if you find the solution before. They will constitute the layers of the strategy in the third technique that is called the climber. And it perfectly matches the metaphor of the mountain before, because it takes inspiration from alpine guides, alpine climbers. So how many of you know how to create the path to climb a mountain? Maybe we have some climbers in the room. So the most complex mountains, the technique that alpine guides use is not knowing where to start, but where to end. So if you know you want to reach the summit of the mountain, you ask yourself, where should I find myself a step before reaching the summit? And then second question is, where should I find myself a step before reaching the summit? And so on. You start building a path. So in the same way, we start from the goal, then we prioritize those items that we got from the how, where's, and the miracle question, and we start building a strategy. And each layer of this strategy needs to have the owner, the time, the obstacles. So you understand that here we are in a very specific technique to build a strategy, but all of these steps are incremental, and then they can be used for solving our problems in our company. So before closing this session, I would love to leave and thank this amazing audience today with another quote from Albert Einstein. We cannot solve problems with the same thinking we used for creating them. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Thank you.